And we were like, who's this guy that just came in? Who's this guy, you know? Like we're all asking each other. And Oz goes, oh, that's the vocal coach. You know, he's just here there. And I go, a vocal coach? He goes, yes, I've got a vocal coach now. He goes, a little late in the game for that, isn't it? Let's do this, my brother. Cheers, bro.
Good, man. It's great to see you. So, hi, guys. John the Graham here for Thinking About Guitar. For the last 40 years, my guest has been redefining what it is to be a heavy metal guitarist. Stood next to one of the greatest
redefining how not to do it. Lay it on me. Let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't want the intro. He doesn't want the platitudes. You're back with the new Black Label Society.
Yes.
We waited a while for this one, Zakk.
Unfortunately for a lot of people, we're back. We thought he went away.
Well, Engines of Demolition, incredible album. Obviously, you don't put anything out unless it means something to you. It's taken, what, about 4 years, this one? There's been plenty of ups and downs.
Actually, this is I'm actually enjoying the way this album, the process of it. Usually, there's an implosion of ideas, like Doom Crew Incorporated, or any of the Black Label albums. We would just go in, and write a batch of songs, and then finish them, and then mix them, and then it's done. But this one, it was just like we did that. We started this album in like 2022. And then, have it in the can. And then we did the Pantera Celebration for a year and figured, and that would be it. Then we'll put the album out. Then we went back out again for another year. Then we got together and then recorded some more songs at the Black Vatican, and then went out again for another year and then recorded some more. And then went out for a batch longer. So it was like almost 3.5, almost close to 4 years.
Yeah.
Like that. And I was just like, well, there's no sense of putting a Black Label album out or any, because it's not going to get, you can't tour behind it. I can't do anything because, we're committed to doing what we're doing right now.
So just keep working, working away at it.
And it was just like, it could wait. I was just like, in the meantime, I'll just keep writing songs. So, that's what we did. And then, so when we put the Gallows out, that's already been out 1.5 years ago. So you have the Gallows, then it was Lord Humongous, then Broken and Blind, and now we're on Name and Blood, which I actually I'm digging the whole process because this way everyone will get a chance to digest the record so when we go out, they know the songs.
Absolutely. I mean, Name and Blood, of course, which kicks off the album, is just absolutely incredible.
Cheers,
when did that one get written?
Not that long ago. So, I had, actually, it got more, it mutated into pretty much where it ended up on the record. But there was other parts I cut out, and I would just keep the riff driving. And then, that one was new, and then obviously Ozzy's song. So after we laid Ozzy to rest, flew back to the States, and then did a Pantera show right after we laid Ozzy to rest, and then we finished up the rest of the Pantera Celebration. When I got home is when I wrote those lyrics.
Getting on stage that night was so close to getting the news. Can you talk through what that was like, getting back on stage so soon after, and was it very much necessary to sort of get back on the horse?
Well, yeah, you have to. You can never crawl in a corner and cow. The Vikings don't do that. That doesn't even fit in the vocabulary. It's not even a part of, that doesn't even exist. It's just like everything, and just like with Ozzy, no matter what adversity he came through in his life, throughout his career with, it was never woe me or the victim mentality. It was just like, well, this has to get done. So you gotta keep, there's a mountain in front of you. So that's life. And it's either you go through it, around it, over it, under it, or you just blow it up. The bottom line is we got to get to the other side of this thing. And that's it. So, you just figure out, you can't go, we're never going to get to it. You never put your head down, ever. So, and Ozzy, that's the way Ozzy rolled. So, it's just like we got to get up on stage and it's got to get done. So that's it.
That's understandable. Back to Engines of Demolition. as I mentioned, incredible album. One of the most impressive Black Label albums you've ever done. I don't think I've heard your voice sound like this. This feels like a new era for you vocally. Obviously, with Ozzy's song, your delivery is like something we've never heard before. Is that something that's just come natural in the process of putting this album together, or is it something where you consciously thought, I want to go to the next level here vocally?
Well, I think vocally, thank you, but I think vocally it's just between not only doing the Zach Sabbath thing, but also we have another side project where we do Justin Bieber, Lady Gaga, and I do a couple of those things. So I think vocally that just creeps into this new album right now, Engines of Demolition. So, but
and people have to hear it.
But thank you for noticing
to hear those those influences.
Yes, of course. It's bound to creep in.
Let's get to Ozzy's song. I know you had mentioned before that you never saw Ozzy after the performance. So you got a text from him. I think that's correct.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think like after we did the gig and everything like that. So then when we were back home, Oz was just like, Zachy, we got to end up doing another record. Like when you were going through your Allman Brothers Skinner phase when we were doing No More Tears. He's like, kind of more like that, just like heavy but melodic, what I mean? Not just pummeling stupid heavy or whatever. And I was like, Oz, whatever you want to do. He goes, he goes, I'm not kidding. I go, sure. I go, surely you must be kidding. And he goes, no, I'm not kidding. And don't call me Shirley. So the way I was just picturing what we would be taking from there is like, obviously Oz, because I would always tell him like, Oz, just keep doing your therapy and, hitting the iron and keep doing your, training and taking your vitamins and saying your prayers, because you'd be, whenever you'd be pissed off and frustrated, just like, man, this sucks, because, it's like I'm taking 3 steps forward, then I take 5 steps back, you know what I mean? So it would just be like, you just gotta, I understand venting and just the frustration of being pissed off that, I'm doing everything I can to get better and it's just like not helping or whatever. But I was like, just keep plowing ahead, man, until you're better, and then we'll start touring again, But
so you really felt you would get more shows?
Yeah, well, I would just whenever we'd speak on the phone, So, but he was just, I just figured from there, in that 2 weeks before Oz passed away, it was just like, figure Mom would probably end up booking like a yearly back to the beginning. Because it went over so well, and it was just like this would give him every year it'd give him something to shoot for.
Wow.
Until we can get, if we could do it more often, like him getting back on the road, but a yearly goal. And then, the gig was for charity anyway. So just like, and then round everybody up and do it all over the world. One in Brazil, one in Japan, one in, America, one in, and then we had the one in Birmingham, and then, so do it all over the world once a year. And then in between, he could keep making records or whatever. So that's where I figured we would take it from there. I didn't figure Oz would be passing away 2 weeks after we did the gig. You know?
Had you laid the ground for any new music together?
No, we didn't do anything. You know what I mean? So yeah, because it was just us talking about what we'd want to do.
With Ozzy's song itself, did it come together very quickly for you?
Well, I had the music already written. So the music was just sitting around, and I knew I was happy with the music, that I wanted to do something with it. But then after we got off the road after we laid Ozzy to rest and we got off the road with the Pantera Celebration, I just sat in the house, I wrote the lyrics.
Incredible. And then the vocal delivery, was that like a sketch, and then you thought, wait, that sounds perfect, because it's so stripped back and pulled back for you, even when you're doing
I told Adam, I said, let's just do this one. I didn't tell, he knew what the song was about as soon as we started singing it. But I said, let's just track the vocal on this one today.
And guitar solo as well, of course, it's what we come to expect from you, great solos on throughout the album. The process for crafting solos, has it evolved for you over the years? It's
the same, you sit down and you write something, from the Randy Rhoads school of solo writing. You sit with it and make it a story. So you got the beginning, the middle, and the end. But no, whether it's, Mama, I'm Coming Home, or No More Tears, or Miracle Man, or any, those are all composed solos. I mean, actually, the solo to No More Tears, I mean, that was a jam. Except maybe the end, I might have composed the end thing. But I mean, the actual solo itself, I was pretty much improvised, like one take. But my mom coming home, the majority of all of them, I mean, it was just you sit and you compose them and make it part of the song. But actually, on the Ozzy song, because obviously I use all my guitars when I'm recording now. All my Les Pauls are all retired, all my Ozzy guitars. But Adam, who does the records with us, Adam Fuller, he was just like, Zakk, you should play the Grail on solo on this one. So actually, that's the Grail on that solo.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And when was the last time you put that on a record?
Probably, well, since I started my guitar company in 2016.
You just felt, well, obviously it sounded like it was a suggestion, but did you feel that the mojo
No,
was
I
in that guitar?
didn't even think to do it, because Adam he was just like, Zakk, you should break out the Grail for that because it's Ozzy's song. I was like, that's a good idea. So I went and got the guitar.
There was the pictures of you going at the funeral, you had the acoustic guitars.
Well, it was just because we jammed at Ozzy's, at the funeral. So, when we were all sitting out there under the tent and everything like that. Mom asked me if I'd play Mama, I'm Coming Home. So, I did that.
You've obviously been out on the road with Pantera now for a few years, but has that changed, your playing a little bit in terms of some of the things that you've noticed in Dime's playing that you've just thought, actually, this is now seeped into my writing and my playing?
Well, yeah, I think, because people were like, well, I wonder if it's going to have any creep into my songwriting, you know what I mean? Just playing all Dime stuff, his guitar parts and everything, but it's just, and what Dime wrote. But no, Dime's, it's just his energy and his life force, you know what I mean? It's definitely, Dime was walk into a room and just be hanging out. He's just so contagious. Everybody, just his life force and the light around him. It was just always positive, but and the energy that he played with, so that's definitely all over the record as far as the riff writing and just the energy of the riffs and everything like that. But yeah, totally.
And when we spoke this time last year, there was talk of potentially some new Pantera music.
Well, I think what the fellows were talking about was like potential song ideas that Dime had written, early, Pantera stuff or stuff that Rita had of like Dime just sitting down recording, with a, with just a little practice amp of him just like, let's say if he wrote I'm Broken on a, on a practice.
Like unfinished sketches.
Yeah, unfinished, like Jimi Hendrix songs. Like, let's say if Jimmy wrote Purple Haze and he wrote, Little Wing, and it was just on an acoustic guitar through a play, and then, it was going to be Mitch, Noel, and Eric Clapton who were going to do a tribute to Jimmy. And, it would be Eric playing these songs that Jimmy wrote that were not properly recorded. So, yeah, it's not, so it wouldn't be me writing anything. It's it's Eric Clapton playing the song Purple Haze that Jimmy wrote. Jimmy sang, but now Eric's going to sing it and play guitar, like, with his cream tone or whatever, Do
you think it's going to happen?
Well, that's up to, it's up to Phil and Rex if they ever wanted to do something like that.
Fair enough.
What I mean?
Now, on the new album, obviously you mentioned that the Grail is on there, but the rest of the album, of course, is Wild Audio, is going to be all over there, and you've really refined the tones with the amps and the guitars over the years, the evolution of them. What's the latest with Wild Audio? What you got coming out in 2026?
Well, probably acoustics and the amps. So, I've been taking my Wild Audios the whole time with Pantera Celebration. We've had the Master 100, and then the ones that we have with Dave, it registered the wattage on it was 140. So I said, just write that on it. Wild Audio, it says Master 140. So it's actually a 140 watt amp. That's what it actually registered as. So that's pretty hilarious. So it just fits perfectly, and with the whole Spinal Tap, it goes to 11. You know what I mean? So yeah, 140. So it's not even a 100 watt top. And then we also have the minis. So yeah, but they're all tube watts and tube amps, and they just sound great. They're just simple, like a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. You turn it in, plug it in, turn everything up, and then whatever you don't like, you get rid of. So it's just simple. I mean, because a lot of times, I would just always laugh when an amp has like 6,000 knobs on. Like, this is like insane. You know what I mean? It's just like you need a to work at Nassau to figure out how to work this thing. I mean, it shouldn't be that difficult. I mean, with the 800, the beauty of that circuit is if you don't have the distortion pedal on it, it's just all you hear is the wood, the guitars, the tubes. It's just awesome. But you know, if you want to play Back in Black or Highway to Hell, that's how you could always test it. That's the tone. But yeah, and you know, you'll have a little bit of sustain for solos. But I mean, with the Dunlop, with the Berserker pedal, my distortion pedal, all it does is just give you more of what you have, you know, for sustain. So it doesn't change the tone of your amp, you know. So, yeah, I mean, to me, it's always been. I haven't really. There's no need to change any of it.
To change, of course.
You know, so from Ozzy to Miracle Man, No More Tears to Pride and Glory to Book of Shadows to Black Label, it's just been basically the same amp. You know, so you want it clean, you turn the distortion pedal off, turn your guitar down. And there's your clean sound.
Something that I wanted to ask you about, it's a classic video that's online. I don't know if enough people have seen it, and it was when you sat in with Les Paul and his trio back in like 2008, something like that in New York.
At the Iridium.
Yeah.
That was at the club.
Yeah, you know, and you guys are going back and forth, ribbing one another, and there's some playing, and you know, some great playing, of course. What was the story behind that? Did you just sit in on that? And what are some of your memories?
No, Les is hilarious. I mean, he would do, whenever he did the Iridium, I mean, you would go to see him play, but you'd also go to hear these stories that he would tell all the time. I mean, because he was an amazing storyteller and everything, and just hilarious, you know what I mean? So, no, it was always great being around him and just such. I mean, his legacy is forever because, I mean, he invented multi-track recording. I mean, aside of just the guitar and how he invented the Les Paul and pickups and the whole 9 yards, and he invented multi-track recording. So, I mean, everything that you're hearing, whether it's rap, whether it's rock, whether it's country, whether it's gospel music, it doesn't matter. Whatever's recorded, you know, Sabbath, Zeppelin, Cream, it's all thanks to Les Paul and multi-track recording.
Of course. Now, I've heard that Iommi is working on a solo record himself, and just when I've got you here, has he approached you at all to contribute to that?
He just stay as far away, Zakk, as you possibly can. I want this album to be successful. Don't ruin it.
Well,
don't ruin my chances for success. Just stay away. That's kind of the same thing my wife says to me. You know what I mean? Stay away.
Fair enough. You know, everyone's got their favourite sort of Ozzy story. For you personally, what's one that comes to mind?
No, I would with Oz when he just goes, when he had given up, you know, he was smoking. We were just sitting in the house one day. This is probably like around, I don't know, maybe when we were doing Osmosis or something right before we started recording that. We were in California sitting at the house, and Sharon and my wife Barbara, and they went out to the movies or they went out somewhere. It was just me and Ozzy in the house. And he goes, yeah, it's like, you know, I don't do drugs anymore. I don't drink anymore. I don't smoke anymore. I never thought I'd give that up. I don't even drink coffee anymore. He goes, Zakk, and I go, what, Oz? He goes, why am I alive? I just go, well, Oz, I go, look at it. I go, you know, you inspire a lot of people. You make people's days better. You know, you put a Sabbath record on, or Diary of a Madman. It makes people, if they're having a crummy day, you make their day better. You're doing God's work. He goes, yeah, I suppose. And then there was a moment of silence. Then he looks at me again. He goes, Zakk. I go, what, Oz? He goes, why am I alive? Mind you, he did laugh after he said it. So he had a chuckle out of it too. But he was hilarious, man. I mean, that's why I always said it was a miracle any work ever got done. You know, because you'd just be around him for 5 minutes. He'd be making fun of whatever situation was going on in the world. You know, like, have you seen this going on? You know, and then he'd take the piss out of that. And then, like, whatever it is that we were doing, he'd be making fun of himself all the time. You know, I remember like one day when Mom had a vocal coach come down to rehearsals one day, and we were like, who's this guy that just came in? Who's this guy, you know? Like, we're all asking each other. And Oz goes, oh, that's Because that's the vocal coach. You know, he's just here there. And I go, a vocal coach? He goes, yes, I've got a vocal coach now. He goes, a little late in the game for that, isn't it? Oh my God.
Thanks so much for taking the time. Congratulations on the new album. And we'll look forward to seeing you when you're back in town.
Cheers, man.
Picking up all guitar.